I'm out here in my front yard and I have been hacking away at this thing. I'm trying to give it a spring refresh, so I've been cutting back a bunch of the old vines, trying to get them a little lower, think about the future, think about where light's coming in. And while we wait for that to grow back in, we're gonna be continuing the project. We're gonna mound up some soil, a mixture of some native soil, some bag soil, and some compost I made. We're gonna shape it out, throw in some rocks for visual interest. We're gonna plant it with some flowers, and then we're gonna mulch it. And at the end of it, we're gonna have a beautiful, thriving front yard. So let's get to it. Classic mistake, forgot to mention that I'm gonna be putting in drip irrigation, gonna be doing a little bit of fertilizing, and I'm gonna dye the mulch a dark color, which is something I've never done before. So pretty cool, pretty interesting. Here we go, let's do this. All right, first step, let's get some native soil. You can see it's hard stuff. So we're just gonna get a little bit of this, couple shovelfuls. Now, because this first batch is actually gonna be buried, I'm gonna sift through some of my soil to make sure I'm not actually burying any wood chips or larger material that's gonna suck up nitrogen in the soil while it tries to decompose. This stuff's great, but it does have a lot of wood chips, so. All right, and time to mix it up. If you see any big chunks, you can break those up too. Big chunks would be a pretty funny name for a bagged soil. But anyway, yeah, you don't have to be perfect with this. I just, prefer to give it a good mix. This is the area I'm focused on right now. I think I'm gonna try to connect it to this hill. It's kind of divoted out right there. So I think I'm gonna try to bring kind of a mounded strip through this area, throw a couple rocks, plant the flowers around them. This is really the area that lacks color the most. So yeah, let's start dumping. Start dumping is also a pretty good name for a landfill or waste management company. Someone feel free to take that. All right, now that we got 2 wheelbarrows full on the ground here, it's time to start shaping it up, get an idea how this thing's gonna start looking. And we're gonna grab our rocks and start figuring that out too. Just pushing things around with a rake, trying to get an idea what this thing's gonna look like, making sure to tamp down with a hand tamp there. Wanna just settle the soil a bit and keep adding it, get that shape right. Fun fact, rocks are heavy, and these things were definitely hard to manage. I'm not the strongest dude in the world, but I can lift a rock or two. I always like having rocks in a yard. It just makes it feel a little more natural, adds a little bit of elevation and different texture to things. Might have gone with more looking back on this, but these are pretty good. Maybe next year I'll get an even bigger one and figure out somewhere to place it. We got everything set and placed. Now we got to make that top mixture, and I'm going to use this compost I made. It's got a lot of material in it that I don't need. This is from a pile I made a long time ago when I didn't 100% know what I was doing with compost. Definitely learned my lesson. I actually made a video about some of the lessons I learned from my first 4 compost piles, and I got another video that I made that is basically how I did it better. It's an evolving study and learning more and more every day, but I like to think I'm getting pretty good at it. All right, last couple things. Gonna throw a little more of this starter fertilizer in there, give the soil a little extra nutrient and help the plants get off to a good start. Camera ran out of battery, so didn't get to record adding perlite to the mix. did that, you can see all the white specks in the soil, and that's just good for drainage. It's good when you're planting flowers, stuff like that. Helps get a little extra oxygen down to the roots. Super important for really any plant, but especially for flowers and stuff like that. Doing some final placements here, making sure the rocks and the soil are where I want them. Just trying to think about exactly where I'm going to plant plants at this point. Try to get most of the soil there. Definitely going to get it around these rocks. I think I'm going to give it a little break for now, wait for the sun to get a little lower in the sky, cool off, let those young plants not get too stressed out when we go ahead and plant them. So I'll be back. All right, we're back, and I brought some friends. Dianthus, Catharanthus roseus. Catharanthus roseus, Vinca mix. So these guys are pretty fun. They grow pretty tall, about yay high, and about that wide. They really get quite a bit bigger than you would expect. And they put off these beautiful flowers, especially when it gets really, really hot. So yeah, should be a good mix. Obviously, we're not going to plant 18 Dianthus and 6 of these Catharanthus, but I brought all of them so we could get a good mix, pick the right colors for the right places, and yeah, let's get to planting. Definitely want to focus around these rocks. Want to give them a little color, they'll contrast good. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a couple, should we go red around the rocks? Maybe we'll do a mixture of red, some of these red, and some of these slightly more purple and pinks. And I want to space not right next to the rock. We definitely want to give these a little bit of room to grow. So I'm gonna make a little hole here. We got our first one. I like to break them up just a little. Make sure they don't choke themselves out. Break them up. Throw them in. Might want to get that a little deeper actually. All right. Throw a little starter fertilizer in the hole directly on the roots. Get it in there. And golden. Get a little hole. Hello. Got number 2 right there. The rest of this is pretty much all going to be the same, so let's time lapse it. You may be wondering why I'm cutting the roots of these little baby flowers, but it's just because they're circling and these flowers can last multiple years here. So I just want to make sure I don't have any long-term problems, and the fertilizer helps mitigate some of the shock and gets them going quick again. All right, got it all dialed in. Looks great. Pretty dang excited about it. And yeah, last thing to do is just water it in. But these are really young, really fragile plants, so you got to be gentle. I'm going to give it a slow, light watering for a long period of time. Make sure that we soak it all in. And yeah. Definitely should have got a longer hose. Pro tip, always get the longer one. All right, it's looking pretty good. Got it watered. Might give it a little more in a second. Got a couple projects left to do. One, I gotta run drip to all this. You can probably see the line that I got going here, so we'll just connect to that. Might do a single dripper at each one, or I might run some line through with a multi-drip. Not quite sure yet, we'll see. This rock over here, gonna lift it up with a little bit more dirt, support it, maybe blend it into the hill a little bit more. And then there's another rock over there where I'm gonna plant a couple flowers around it, and yeah, should look pretty good. I ended up opting for the drip line, spaced 6 inches at a ½ gallon per hour. I'm gonna connect right here, and for that I need this hole punch. You'll see as it comes out there, Just has a little puncher, and you just put it over here. Pokes a hole. Still some water in the line right there, but that's fine. Put in a connector. Once you hear it snap, you know you're good. And now you're just gonna connect your drip. And we got that connected. Cool. Let's start running this line. So I've got my drip line, I'm running it around, putting it in with just generic landscape staples. Maybe I'll link to some in the description if anybody needs any. And just trying to get it around all the plants, space it appropriately. In the end, I actually ended up running another line just to get a little extra water to the area. Looking good. I guess all we got to do now is cover it with some mulch, and these plants will get all the water they want. You won't be able to see it, but they're going to thrive underneath it and be good to go. There's no perfect scenario for how you're going to run drip, but tons of different scenarios like this one right here. A little more of a sprayer style, but run it how you want it. Give it a try, see if it works, and adjust accordingly. All right, we're on to the next little hump here. Basically doing the same thing as the first one and just trying to play off that hill a little bit, throwing up some more rock, and yeah, gonna be looking pretty good, getting close to the finish line here. Things are really moving along here. Got the irrigation done just the other day, and today we're gonna dig up some of these weeds that we got going on, and we're gonna cover everything with a layer of compost, so it'll be nice and happy and healthy territory for these plants to grow. Improve the clay soil, which would be nice. Yeah, and then if we have time, we'll put some mulch down. It's pretty cool. These guys, which I butchered over here, they are starting to come back, and they'll be the right size, the right height that I want. But they're putting on fresh leaves, and hopefully in like 2 weeks, this place will be looking real good. Couple things, just want to make sure you dig deep enough around the edges so when you put your compost and your mulch in, you don't have it going up over the sides, and you know there's going to be bunnies and squirrels, all sorts of things running around, and don't want them kicking mulch all over your driveway. Also, get that compost in your yard. Feeds the worms, feeds the insects, the bacteria, the fungi. Keeps everything alive and moving, feeds those plants, so definitely use it in your garden. Always be mulching. ABM, I don't know if anybody uses that, but yeah, always be mulching. Keeps the soil temperature more moderate. It's nice for the roots, holds in extra moisture, keeps things nice and happy for your plants. This is shredded pine mulch that I had shredded from a pine tree that I took out, and I was really interested in giving it some new life and found this Mulch Dye. My first time doing it, definitely was not what I expected, learned a lot. I'm actually going to make a video on it specifically. It was an interesting process, definitely check that out. But yeah, this stuff is seriously staining, so water everything down, folks. Got the pack on, pump it up. They say to wet everything, that you don't want it getting stained. That'll give me a little room. Definitely getting a little bit of spatter I see coming up, so you want to be careful how you do this. It is so satisfying to watch this stuff go down. It just, yeah, it's really cool. It takes a long time. This is all sped up so much. It seems so cool. It's getting really, really dark. But you gotta remember that every time that a critter runs through this, it is gonna flip the mulch over, and all you've done is just the top of the top layer. So you actually have to let this stuff dry and then rake it around, give it another coat. I ended up doing it 3 times, and I tried some different methods to control the overspray. You can see this cardboard. It was kind of successful, but this is a lot harder than it looks. And was it worth it? I don't know. Check out that video I made, and if it's not out yet, subscribe and look for it in the future. At this point, it had been a couple months, and the weather had been all over the place. So I wanted to get back to that almost spring-like bloom. So using a little bit of fertilizer here, some more bloom, and a little bit of liquid iron. Just wanted to juice these plants up a little bit, give them another beautiful bloom cycle. And I was waiting for the honeysuckle bushes to come back a bit stronger before I wanted to get those end beauty shots of the wonderful garden that we updated. And I didn't realize it at the time, but part of the reason they weren't coming back nearly as strong is they had a bit of a fungal infection. Took me a while to diagnose it, but I didn't treat it in time to really get the beautiful shots from last year. You'll see, I mean, there's some decent growth on there, but the problem is it would come back and die a little bit. Everything else looking really healthy, beautiful flowers, and super happy with how this project turned out. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, some deeper dives into fun projects that'll help make your house a home for your rad fam, then please harvest that subscribe button, that little subscribble button, and I'll see you soon.